Hi, I'm Lawrence Bergstrom, osteopath and advanced trained non-surgical spinal disc specialist. A question we get asked a lot at the clinic is, why do my joints creak and click and pop? The reason our joints click and pop and creak is largely due to wear and tear. When we're much younger, the cartilage is well supplied with synovial fluid. It's like a joint oil. And so the surfaces are very smooth and the cartilage is very smooth. So into our teens and our early 20s, the joints are very smooth running and there's very little friction within them. However, as time goes on and we start to develop some degree of wear and tear in the surfaces of the cartilage becomes a little bit rougher. There are little imperfections in the cartilage. And as a consequence, that leads to heat and friction. Now, the law of physics dictates that energy can't be destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So to give you an example, if I rub my hands together, the friction of that creates sound energy. Now, the articulating surfaces in your joints, for example, say here in the facet joints, where they start rubbing together, that causes a degree of heat and friction. And that heat and friction is emanated as sound energy. Similarly, if I place my hands together and form a vacuum and then pull them apart quickly, we get a sound. So similarly, in our neck, in our knees, in our wrists, we can hear this sound energy. Now, the good news is generally it's nothing to be worried about. You can also have, particularly around the kneecap, this will be something that's very common to a lot of you. Climbing stairs, you'll hear your knees, what people say, creaking or clicking and popping. Now, the kneecap, the patella, has cartilage on it and it runs in a groove. Now, that cartilage, as time goes on, starts to become roughened. So when you're taking your body weight on your knee, what happens is the cartilage is rubbing against cartilage, but thankfully there's quite a lot of synovial fluid in there. So generally it's not painful, but it becomes noisy. Also, if the muscles around a joint are very stiff and tight, that will cause more compression, which again, the joint will try to release to some degree, and that will often be a click or a pop. For example, if I click my finger now, what's happened is we've increased a pressure gradient within the joint. Now, once we put enough pressure on it, there's a momentary release of pressure and a gas bubble is formed and a small amount of synovial fluid is pressurized, and then as a consequence you get sound energy. So in the clinic, we always ask, if you get clicks and pops, so for example, you look over your shoulder, you hear a click or a pop in your neck, is it painful? Because if somebody says, no, it's just noisy, we're not unduly concerned. If somebody, for example, looks over their shoulder and they get a click and that was painful, now we're more concerned, because that tells us there's an issue within the articulating surfaces or possibly a disc, or indeed a tissue that's aggravating a nerve. So just to set your mind at rest, generally clicks and pops are nothing to worry about. While we're on this subject, another question we get asked is, if I crack my fingers, will I get arthritis? And the answer is no and yes. So the joints are held together by ligaments, and the ligaments are there to stabilize the joint and to allow those articulating surfaces to move freely and efficiently. Now, if we repeatedly crack our knuckles and our fingers time and time again, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, what happens is over time, those ligaments become lax. We call it ligamentous laxity, which basically means they're becoming a bit loose. Now, as a consequence, that's leading to more mobility within the joint. so that articulating surfaces are not moving in their optimal fashion. So that can lead to instability, more heat and friction in the joint, and then further down the line, wear and tear, or what we call osteoarthritis. So we don't recommend people are repeatedly cracking their necks themselves or their knuckles, but if you're doing it on occasion, are you going to do any damage? No. Okay, so really the take-home message is clicks and pops are normal as we get older. It does occur to some degree in younger people as well, and particularly with conditions like hypermobility, where you have a predisposition to lax ligaments, and so your joints are looser, and so one of the things that will happen, they will often tend to click and pop more. But again, the key thing is, are you functioning well in the main? Is it painful? If it's not painful, don't worry. If you're starting to feel pain as well, then it's a very good idea to come and get some professional advice. Lots of things that can be done, from manual therapy, strength and conditioning exercises, these kinds of things. So, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a major problem at all. Okay, I hope this has been useful for you. Thank you for watching.